friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and I'm here for another Monday this and that video where I talk about what's going on in the garden, what I'm putting up this week, whatever I feel like talking about, and sometimes just simply answering a few questions that have come in the past week. So let's get to the topics of today, starting off with the rhubarb. So right here, this is what I put up so far this year. But the thing is there's a lot more rhubarb than what this looks like, because rhubarb is one of those that when you dehydrate it, it just goes just like zucchini. So you can put a lot of rhubarb into a quart jar. I've got more on the dehydrator right now. This jar represents just some of what I put up last year, and I wish I could tell you exactly how many canes or stalks of rhubarb are in here. I don't know. I just keep putting it up. I fill up my jars, and my goal is this year is to get 2 quart jars of rhubarb put up like this. And then when I need it, I powder it up, and a quart jar like this, once powdered up, is going to fill up maybe about a pint or half of a quart, in other words. So this jar was full, by the way, when I started working through it. And anyway, this is the number one way I do put up rhubarb. One, because it saves so much space, but also because of its uses. So I will keep it in its form like this until I run out of my powder, and then I'll powder it up, just in case I do want to use some in whole pieces, such as using it to make vinegar or using it to make a fermentation starter if I want. Though usually I have so many other things I can make my vinegars and fermentation starters from that's really not important. But maybe even to use it as a dessert, and I prefer to keep it in its more whole form like that. But for me, I've always found, as much as I've loved things like strawberry rhubarb pie and other such, I've never been crazy about the texture of cooked rhubarb. But one thing I found is that by powdering it up, this can also save even more space in your pantry, but it can be used in so many ways for flavoring, especially if, like me, you don't live in a place where citrus just happily grows easily, but you can get rhubarb like crazy. Then this is a good option as a lemon juice replacement when you're making pies and crisps and other things that you're going to add a little lemon juice to get that tartness in there. That also helps to bring out the flavor of the other things that you're using to make whatever that is, be it a berry pie, an apple pie, a crisp of any kind. So now, actually, what I like to do is, I dehydrate a lot of apples as well. Once I feel pretty good about the amount of dehydrated apples I have, I will take a lot of my apples that are still yet coming in and then make apple pie mixture that I like to just freeze. And when I do that, I mix everything in there. So the flour, the sugar, the spices, and a 1/4 cup per pie of my rhubarb powder, and that adds a really nice flavor. Plus you're getting a little more nutrients that you can find in the rhubarb that you may not find in your apples or other fruits that you're using. When I started doing that, it's been my favorite way to use my rhubarb. So now I make sure I put up a lot. Now, another thing you can do, and I have done, is to chop it up and freeze it. And when you do that, you can easily juice the rhubarb. And I have made rhubarb wine actually doing that. And I'll link to that video down below on my rhubarb. I call it rhubarb margarita wine, because for some strange reason, when you juice the rhubarb like that, it kind of gives it a more salty flavor. But with a little bit of lime juice and some maybe added honey or sugar, you can get this really nice kind of a rhubarb margarita flavor to your wine when you do that. It actually has been a pretty popular one that I make when family comes to visit. So anyway, just some ideas there. I do have a video on dehydrating rhubarb that I'll link to down below, and another video I'm going to try to remember a link to is the one on growing your own calcium. So it's a series I started several years ago, and every now and then I remember to add to it. growing your own vitamins and minerals. And anyway, what I'll do, I'll just link to that playlist. I have maybe 4 videos in there now. Moving on from there, some other things I'm putting up, still putting up honeysuckle. I got about 3/4 of a quart, so that would be a pint and a half right here of my dried honeysuckle put up. And so my goal is to just go ahead and fill up this quart, and I'll be good for what I need for dried honeysuckle, since I still have at least another 1.5 or 3 pints from last year. But then I like to use my honeysuckle in many other ways. And yes, I leave plenty for the bees and the butterflies. In fact, I did get stung the other day as I was harvesting some of the flowers. Just not really thinking there was a bee right down inside one of the little trumpet flowers there. Grabbed it and I felt something stinging me right in the webbing of my fingers, and I could actually feel the venom going in there. But thankfully, I have plantain growing all around, and so I just grabbed a couple leaves, chewed them up, stuck it in that spot. And the nice thing about being stung right there is it's easy to hold that in place. I didn't have to worry about a band-aid to hold it there. And within a couple of minutes, the sting is just gone. This is like the 3rd or 4th time I've been stung in the garden and used that plantain, and it doesn't even leave a mark. And it's just, I mean, within a couple minutes, it's just gone. And I love that I can do that and then not worry about it. So at any rate, when you're harvesting your honeysuckle, watch out. Now I'm like getting in the habit of shaking the flowers or kind of flicking them a little bit, just to make sure there's nothing in there before I pull them off. So last week I did talk a little bit about honeysuckle, but I wanted to talk a little bit more because I may or may not make vinegar, because I still have a lot of vinegar and other types of vinegars I want to make through the season. So what I did instead, and this should be ready, in fact, this is a honeysuckle soda, natural soda. You know, it's got a little sugar, and then the water, and then the flowers, which have all kind of faded. You don't see as much pink in there as when I first started it. But what you'll see is a few chunks of rhubarb and a handful of small rose petals, because my roses are just starting to bud. And I wanted to add a little more color, but since I only let this ferment for 3 days because I don't want it to be alcoholic, I just want it to be fizzy. And I did taste it yesterday before it was fully fizzy, which I can hear it kind of fizzing now. And it tasted wonderful. Honeysuckle is such a wonderful flavor as well as aroma for anything like this. So I thought it would, and I think I've made a honeysuckle soda before, so I don't know if you can see. You know what? I think I'm going to leave it another day. Let it get a little bit more fizzy. And maybe add a little more sugar in there to make sure I get a nice fizz on that. And then with that said, I've also started, this is time of year I really start working on getting my grapes that I've got in the freezer. If I've got anything left, I start trying to get those out to clear the freezer space for putting up more grapes. And so it takes about 3 gallons of grapes that are just in their whole form to make a gallon of wine, because you're going to get approximately 3 to 4 quarts of juice out of those bags. And then I add my fermentation starter. I put in a cup of that. I end up putting in 3 cups of sugar overall. I usually start with 2 cups, which is what I have here, leaving space to add 1 more cup, which I'll probably do either today or tomorrow now that it is active. So with that, I wanted to add that honeysuckle flavor to the wine, and so I did put some honeysuckle flowers in there. I also added some honeysuckle flowers to the grapes as I was mashing them. Freezing them first makes it a lot easier to get the juice out. But when it comes to grapes, even though I have a fruit press, don't like using that for the grapes. It's good for other fruits, but for the grape, I start with the fruit masher that Patrick made me and just really mash it up good. And then I do the rest by hand and then strain it through some cheesecloth, some really fine knit cheesecloth. And then I get as much juice out of there as I can. With that, though, I put the flowers into the grapes as I was mashing them and then pressing them out. So hopefully I was getting more of that honeysuckle flavor in there. I won't know yet because I haven't tasted it yet. Then added quite a few of honeysuckle flowers to the jar itself, making sure I took them apart because I don't want any, I want to be able to strain these out easily enough, get them out of the jug. But what I might do in about a week is strain out these flowers, add some fresh flowers in there to get even more of that flavor. But I did the same thing with this. I did also throw in some rose petals and a few pieces of the reddest parts of my rhubarb in there, hoping to help improve the color. Now what you'll see here, this looks really dark. It always starts out really dark when you first start some wine like this, but it will lighten up. Like if I'm just using my Niagara white grapes, it'll start out kind of an olive green, and then in a few days it'll turn a nice beautiful golden yellow. And I'm expecting this because I only just started it 2 days ago, so in another day or two this should lighten up considerably. And then I'm hoping what I can do is really get a nice pink color infused in there, because the honeysuckle flowers don't have enough color, even though mine are pink. You're not going to get much of that color infused into whatever it is you're making. Making a wine or vinegar, you'll get more than you would something like this because it's not sitting as long. But rose petals, and then if you're growing a ruby red rhubarb, usually down at the base is where you get that darkest color, and each stalk's going to be different. Some are greener than others, but if you cut some of that up and throw it in there, that can add color as well. So I'm hoping to see that. So by next week, when I shoot my this and that video, I should be able to show you what it looks like, and it should have a much lighter color, hopefully a little more pink. And I figure if it doesn't get as pink as I would like it, I can always take a little bit of that beet juice powder that I got, that Anthony's beet juice powder. There's difference between beetroot powder. Beetroot powder is just made solely from the root. It's dehydrated and powdered. Where beet juice powder is beets that have been juiced, and then the juice is dehydrated, and what you get is a brighter, more beautiful burgundy color, or kind of almost like a dark pink, and a sweeter flavor. So that is what I would use to try to add a little more color to that, to just get it brighter. Just like I did with the buttermints, I used the beet juice powder in that to get that nice pretty pink for the raspberry. And the raspberry turned out so good. But by the way, if you haven't seen my buttermint video recipe, those are so easy to make, and you want to see some of the flavors and different natural colors I used, go check out that video I'll link to in the description box down below. A few other things I'm putting up are the dandelion leaves. I want to get at least 2 full quart jars of these because these will be mixed with my lovage. I've got 2 full quart jars of that right now. And my nettle, I've got lots of, I didn't even bother dehydrating nettle this year because I have so many jars I put up over the years that I'm like, oh, I forgot I still had all this. So I've got jars going back to at least 2019. So I'm going to take 2 of each of those and mix them together along with some nori that I've kind of powdered up or flaked up as small as I could get it. And then whatever else I think of adding. I have a video on mixed greens and many different ideas. I used to add a whole bunch of different stuff. Now I kind of focus on the most nutrient dense things when I make this because I really need those minerals. And my greens goes into almost every dinner I make. The sauces, the gravies, the meatloafs, the meatballs, the hamburger patties, it doesn't matter what I'm making, soups, etc. So I'll link to that video as well. And then here is, I've almost filled up my pint jar of yarrow, and my goal this year is to get a whole quart of yarrow put up. And then same thing with the heel all. I'm hoping to get 2 quarts. So I just about got my first pint because now the heel all, also known as self-heal, is really taking off. I do have videos on dandelion, honeysuckle, yarrow, heel all, and the benefits of these. So instead of linking to each one, I'm going to keep it easy on me and you. That way you can just scroll through the list. I'm linking to the full playlist on Herbs and More Benefits and Uses, where I've covered, I think I have over 100 videos in there covering all kinds of different herbs, spices, and other things like even chocolate, coconut oil, and the health benefits of all these different things. And then the last thing I want to talk about is I just want to give you a quick update on what you'll be seeing in the next several weeks throughout the summer and probably into the fall. Because right now, the way my schedule is with the garden, the grandbabies, and more, I'm finding it most streamlined for me to be able to have one day a week where I shoot my videos. So I do my this and that video, and then I'll do my live show on my other channel, which you'll always find linked in the description box below these videos. And in those live shows, I'll have it broken up into like 2 to 3 different topics that I will then download that video, take those topics and separate them out, edit them to shorten them down to anywhere from 10, 20 minutes, hopefully. Sometimes end up being longer because I'm covering a lot of stuff, adding pictures, video clips, and so on, so that I can make a more streamlined single topic video to put here on this channel. And so that gives me my 4 videos for the week. So I've got my this and that, and the 3 that gets extracted from a single live show broken up into 3 separate videos. And so I'm just letting you know that's what you're going to see. I know not everyone loves that format when I'm sitting in the dance room talking to the computer, but I actually really enjoy it. It is a far more streamlined way for me to get this done and to be able to keep putting out these videos and make the most of my time. So please understand that if you're one of those that doesn't like that, then just watch my this and that videos. You don't need to complain to me about it. It's what I'm going to do because it's what works for me right now. It's either that or I cut down to 1 or 2 videos a week instead. So anyway, I know most people don't mind where I'm sitting or standing or whatever, but there's always going to be that 1 or 2 people that likes to complain about something. So I don't really know why, because I mean, they get their information for free. I have nothing behind a paywall. I don't even have members only. I don't even do videos that publish only to members first and then to everyone else later. I don't do any of that. Even my Patreon is open to everyone. Every post that's in there. I don't post a lot there, but every post that is in there is free to everyone. People can choose to donate if they want, but they don't have to be able to find the written recipes, the written lists I make up, and other such that I put in there. So it's really silly to complain about something that costs you nothing but your time. If you decide that the topic of my video or the style of the video isn't for you, it's just as easy to just back out of the video and go do something else with your time. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my this and that for the week. Any thoughts, ideas you'd like to share, please put those in comments down below. And don't forget to check out those links. So clicking on more or show more somewhere down here below the video screen, and you'll be able to open the description box and find that and any other information I have in there, which is quite a bit because I have a lot of links and whatnot. And thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.